Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's begin today's daily quiz with question number 1 on your screen. Consider the following statements with regards to rat hole mining. Number 1. Rat hole mining involves digging of very small tunnels, usually 3 to 4 feet high, which workers, often children, enter and extract coal. Second, the National Green Tribunal banned it in 2014 on the grounds of it being unscientific and unsafe for the workers. Third, since the coal seam is extremely thin in Meghalaya, no other method would be economically viable. Which of these three given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here is D. All the three given statements are correct about rat hole mining. As the statements tell you, rat hole mining is a practice of extracting coal from very shallow mines which are usually only 3 to 4 feet deep, and children are often used, unfortunately, because they are the ones who can enter into those narrow spaces. Because it is unscientific and unsafe, it was banned by the NGT in 2014. However, the reality is that on ground, even after this ban, the practice of rat hole mining has continued in the state of Meghalaya. The reason why we are asking this question is because the Meghalaya High Court has again pulled up the state government, asking it what action have they been taking to ensure that the NGT ban on rat hole mining is upheld. Because even after the ban on the rat hole mining concept, we see that this practice is widespread in the state of Meghalaya. Even after the ban on this practice in December 2018, there was a news that at least 15 workers lost their life when they were trapped in one such mine in the East Jayantia Hills. So whenever you read about the rat hole mining concept, it is always closely related to the state of Meghalaya. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements with regards to BBIN Motor Vehicle Agreement. Number 1. The Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal initiative is a sub-regional architecture of countries in Eastern South Asia. Second, the BBIN Motor Vehicles Agreement was signed in 2015 at the BBIN Transport Ministers meeting in Thimphu, Bhutan. And third, apart from Nepal, all other nations have ratified the treaty already. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here is A. 1 and 2 are correct. The third statement is wrong because actually it is Bhutan. Apart from Bhutan, the other nations have ratified the treaty. The reason is Bhutan, amongst all these nations, is one of those nations that gives a lot of importance to its environment and environmental preservation. In Bhutan, there is a view that once this agreement is signed, the movement of trucks and other transportation inside Bhutan will increase manifold, which will harm the environment negatively. And that is why the Bhutan Parliament has still not ratified the treaty. And that is why the other remaining nations in this agreement, that is Bangladesh, India and Nepal, have decided to move ahead with the pact, leaving Bhutan on the sidelines because Bhutan, as we had just discussed, has not been able to ratify this particular agreement. The article tells you that the original agreement was signed in 2015 by all 4 nations, but there were objections in Bhutan over sustainability and environmental concerns. And that is why the Bhutan government actually asked the other 3 countries to go ahead with the project in 2017. The reason why it is relevant right now is Prime Minister Modi is expected to go to Colombo in the end of March to attend a BIMSTEC summit. And in the BIMSTEC summit, there will be other nations like Bangladesh, Nepal and Bhutan also present. So it is expected that this agreement might go forward in that particular summit at Colombo. Next, question number 3. Consider the following statements. Number 1. Under the present rules for getting a PAN card, an applicant can furnish only their mother's name without giving their father's name if she is a single parent. Second, under the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act of 1956, the natural guardian of a Hindu minor in respect of the minor's person or property is the father, and after him, the mother. Third, the Muslim Personal Law, the Shariat Application Act of 1937, says that the Shariat or the religious law will apply in case of guardianship, according to which the father is the natural guardian. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here again is D. All the 3 given statements are correct. These statements show that irrespective of the religions that we follow in India, in most of the religions, father or the male has been given a priority over the mother, when it comes to deciding the lone guardian for the child. And that is why in most of the official documents, be it the passport, the PAN card, etc., your class 10th, class 12th certificate, etc., in most of these documents earlier, having your father's name register was a mandatory requirement. Now, the reason why it is in the news is recently there were changes in the rules of passport and PAN card, which now allow the applicant to use their mother's name if she is a single parent and they don't need to furnish the name of their father. But the problem is that it is very easy to make this change, but the other certificates that are required along with it, like the school certificates, etc., have the father's name as a guardian. And that is why there has been a suggestion that it is time to change the law and mothers need to be given equal right as the fathers when it comes to deciding the guardianship of the child. The article tells you that in November 2018, the Central Board of Direct Taxes amended the IT rules of 1962, which said that from now onwards, father's name is not mandatory when the mother is a single parent. But that rule has not been changed for class 10th or class 12 certificates, which form the basis of your identity in your entire life. The Supreme Court also in 1999 in the Geetha Hariharan versus RBI case said that while interpreting the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, which says that after the father, mother would be considered as the guardian. In this sentence, as per the Supreme Court, the word after does not mean after the lifetime of the father. The word after signifies that in the absence of the father, the mother will be the guardian. It does not say that mother will only be the guardian when the father has passed away. However, that judgment has not really recognized father and mothers as equal guardians, and that is why there is a PIL filed in the Madras High Court to ensure that all the legal documents now should require mother's name to be mentioned along with the father. Even the Law Commission of India in its 257th report titled Reforms in Guardianship and Custody Laws in India mentioned that superiority of one parent over the other should be removed as soon as possible. Next, question number 4. Which of the following statements about NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is not correct? Number 1. NATO constitutes a system of collective security whereby its independent member states agree to mutual defense in response to an attack by any external party. Second, the most recent member state to be added to NATO was Moldova on 27th March 2020. Third, the September 11 attacks in the United States caused NATO to invoke Article 5 of the NATO Charter for the first time in the organization's history. And fourth, Article 5 of the treaty commits each member state to consider an armed attack against one member state in Europe or North America to be an armed attack against all of them. You have to choose which of these is not correct. The answer here is B. The last member to be added to NATO was not Moldova. In fact, Moldova is not a member of NATO at all. The last member to be added here was North Macedonia. The date mentioned here is correct. North Macedonia was added to NATO on 27th of March 2020 and no other nation has been added to the NATO group after that. The reason why we are discussing this question is not just because of today, but you have seen in the past couple of months due to the Russia-Ukraine crisis, NATO has been in the news every single day. Now in the newspaper, we see that Ukraine president has dropped the pitch for joining NATO. The Ukraine president in an interview said, "I have cooled down regarding this question a long time ago because we have understood that NATO is not prepared to accept Ukraine." The president also said that the NATO alliance is afraid of controversial things and they don't want to have any confrontation with Russia, and thus there is no use of Ukraine becoming a NATO member because even if we do that, they will not be able to help us against Russia. Next, we have a previous year question from 2020. In which of the following groups are all the 4 countries members of G20? Argentina, Mexico, South Africa, Turkey, Australia, Canada, Malaysia, New Zealand, Brazil, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam, and Indonesia, Japan, Singapore, and South Korea. The correct answer here is A. Argentina, Mexico, South Africa, and Turkey are all the members of G20. That is 20 of the biggest economies that we have around the world. The G20 members include Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Republic of Korea, that is South Korea, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, UK, US, and the European Union. These are the members of the G20. Now moving on to a fact of the day, and today a fact that we have been discussing continuously in the past couple of weeks or so. That is, what makes Ukraine such an attractive study destination for not just Indian but other students across the world. We have seen ever since the government of India launched Operation Ganga, that is the evacuation effort to bring back students and other Indian citizens from Ukraine, we have realized the fact that there are a lot of Indian students who are studying in Ukraine, specifically in the medical courses. This study tells us that out of all the foreign students in Ukraine, Indian students make up about 22.9%, which means that Ukraine has become a very attractive destination for students from India to go ahead and take up medical courses. As per the data by Ministry of External Affairs, in June 2021, it was estimated that 18,000 Indian students had enrolled in educational institutions in Ukraine. Ukraine in total has about 80,470 foreign students who are pursuing higher education. Out of all the courses that the foreign students enroll in, medicine has been the leading choice. It is followed up by medical practice and dentistry. Most Indian students in Ukraine are pursuing MBBS from around 45 different medical colleges. One of the reasons that attracts Indian students towards Ukraine is that the quality of education offered in the Ukrainian universities is pretty good and is accepted by most nations around the world, including the developed European nations as well. Ukraine, in fact, has been a center of higher education for people across the world from the Soviet Union era itself. Add to that two other major factors, that is, extremely low cost as compared to the Indian medical universities and an extremely easy admission process which does not even require any entrance test to pursue this medical course in Ukraine, means that a lot of students are attracted towards universities in Ukraine. Ukraine also offers a lot of opportunities to enter the European market after your graduation, since Ukraine is a part of the Bologna process of 2005, which encourages mutual recognition of degrees and collaboration amongst the European countries in higher education specifically. While a medical student in Ukraine would have to spend about $5,000 per annum, which is close to 3.5 to 4 lakh rupees per annum, in US, a medical student would have to spend $70,000 per year, which is close to 50 lakh rupees. And that is why we see students across the world aiming to get into Ukrainian universities to ensure that they have a bright future. This is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching.